along with the rest of the climate movement, was on the front lines of the fight to pass the IRA and secure these transformative climate investments. And now we're proud to support states in their work to equitably and effectively implement all the exciting and transformative provisions and funding streams that are coming online. We're thrilled to be at this event here with all of you, leaders from the Shapiro administration, fellow environmental advocates, industry, workers, elected officials, and community members to talk more about the historic and nation-leading opportunity the DEP and the Shapiro administration is pursuing to secure IRA funds to begin to clean Pennsylvania's industrial sector. And it's worth noting just what a transformative and unprecedented moment that we're in for Pennsylvania and the rest of the country, thanks to the leadership of the Biden administration and leaders in Congress. It's easy over the last year or so. We've been accustomed to seeing all of these announcements. Pretty soon, you know, we have $1 billion over here, $20 billion over here. Pretty soon it adds up to real money. But it's easy to get used to all these announcements and take them for granted. But we really are in a transformative and unprecedented moment to start moving our economy towards an equitable clean energy future. And it's this program, the CPRG, Climate Pollution Reduction Grants Program, is a big part of that. Overall, you know, going back years and years, states have always led the way in the transition to clean energy. And now we have this $5 billion pot of funding that's available to support states, local governments, tribal nations via the Climate Pollution Reduction Grants Program to help ensure that states and local governments have this continued capacity to exercise continued leadership in years to come. And now we're here to talk today about RISE PA, Pennsylvania's nation-leading implementation grant application, and it's a really clear example of bold state leadership to reinvigorate American industry, create jobs, and tackle the climate crisis. Evergreen, as our organization, has been really proud to collaborate with both the administration, the labor partners that are here, as well as the Ohio River Valley Institute to support DEP as they developed their application. And I just want to touch on a few highlights. It's easy to get bogged down in acronyms, the IRA, CPRG, but what are we actually talking about when we talk about what is, at the end of the day, a historic and unprecedented opportunity to really transform industry in Pennsylvania. So we and others who have helped support on this application found that the program, RISE PA, which folks from the administration will talk more about, if Pennsylvania was able to secure this funding via the CPRG program, we have the opportunity to create as many as 6,000 new jobs in the Commonwealth, putting people to work, decarbonizing the industrial sector, the opportunity to just over the next few years cut more than 5 million metric tons of climate pollution from the industrial sector, and more than $9 million in the years to come, 9 million metric tons of climate pollution in the years to come. And then really importantly, Pennsylvania has designed their application to really center workers and building equitable workforce opportunities. So there's a huge and a historic opportunity to support union workers and uplift Pennsylvania communities with this program. RISE PA, in our estimation, as we're working with and seeing what states are putting together for their CPRG applications, this is an extremely competitive application and should be a serious contender for the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant's largest funding tier. EPA says they're looking to fund innovative proposals that deliver equitable community benefits and secure new reductions in climate pollution, and we think RISE PA more than meets that test. We're excited to continue working with all the partners here and others across the state and the Shapiro administration to implement the policies included in this plan and help keep moving the Commonwealth towards a healthy, prosperous, clean energy economy. Now is my pleasure to introduce leaders from the Shapiro administration who have been leading the effort to design RISE PA and secure federal funding across the IRA's different opportunities for the Commonwealth. So we have next up Interim Acting Secretary of the Department of Environmental Protection, Jessica Shirley.
Thank you, Justin. Good morning, everyone. My name's Jessica Shirley. I am the Interim Acting Secretary for the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. And first, I would like to thank the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades for hosting this press conference and supporting industrial decarbonization, and as well as our friends from Evergreen Action and the Ohio River Valley Institute, some of whom you will meet in a minute. I am excited to be speaking today and to share more about DEP's climate pollution reduction grants implementation application and how Pennsylvania plans to leverage these federal resources in our climate planning. So a little bit of background. In 2021, I became DEP's first ever infrastructure coordinator in response to the massive investments that were available from the federal government through the IIJA and the IRA. These programs were set up to address legacy pollution and climate change to spur private investment in projects aimed at reducing pollution and create safer and healthier communities. So why is Pennsylvania focusing on the industrial sector when it comes to reducing emissions and this grant program? Well, Pennsylvania's industrial sector is actually our highest emitting sector of greenhouse gas emissions statewide. So other states, industrial might be third or fourth on the list, but in Pennsylvania it's number one, which makes sense because we have a lot of industry and we have a lot of manufacturing here. It's about 30% of our total greenhouse gas emissions. As a whole, Pennsylvania is responsible for the equivalent of approximately 238 million metric tons of carbon dioxide that are emitted into the atmosphere every year. The Shapiro administration strongly believes that new investments will help take real action to address climate pollution while continuing to protect and create jobs in the industrial sector. So we can save companies money and reduce emissions at the same time. That's why I am proud to announce today that Pennsylvania has applied for $475 million through the Climate Pollution Reduction Grants for a new program, Reducing Industrial Sector Emissions in Pennsylvania, or RISE-PA. I really want to know who our acronym generator is for this one because it's Louis. I was going to guess. It was Louis. We also joked that we need to amend our application to add $300 for t-shirts so we can all get some RISE-PA logos on some t-shirts. But mitigating greenhouse gas emissions and other air pollutants, RISE-PA will continue Pennsylvania's legacy of energy leadership by inviting industry to apply for grants to reduce carbon pollution. The goal of RISE-PA is to offer grants for small, medium, and large-scale decarbonization projects at industrial facilities with funding we hope to secure through this program, the Climate Pollution Reduction Grants Program. DEP has already received significant interest from Pennsylvania's industries with the intention of utilizing RISE-PA funding for greenhouse gas reduction measures. For instance, and this is cool, one industrial company is interested in constructing a new energy efficient plant that would replace diesel equipment, implementing energy efficient heat recovery systems for cold weather concrete mixing, and installing electric vehicle charging infrastructure to prepare for a fleet of electric vehicles. Altogether, these industrial decarbonization projects will significantly reduce greenhouse gas and other pollutants here in Pennsylvania. RISE-PA funding would reduce carbon dioxide pollution by over 5 million tons by 2030, create and preserve tens of thousands of jobs, and invest in Pennsylvania's industrial base. These investments will ultimately reduce air pollution in the Commonwealth and make our communities more livable. We don't have to choose between addressing air pollution and creating jobs. With RISE-PA, we can do both. Also, RISE-PA funding would create good union jobs across the state. Every project that DEP supports must pay a prevailing wage for construction, renovations, and repair, ensuring that we're paying Pennsylvanians good wages. RISE-PA will also provide a fair labor bonus, offering even more support to projects that agree to collective bargaining and invest in hiring and training locally. This means that RISE-PA will drive meaningful pollution reductions while creating good jobs and a durable career pipeline for workers. RISE PA has already garnered support from groups across the Commonwealth, which is why we're all here, including labor leaders, industry leaders, and environmental advocates. DEP is committed, under the leadership of the Shapiro administration, to protecting and creating energy jobs while helping industry to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We're confident that EPA will see the merit of this proposal for clean, resilient industry, healthier communities, and good jobs. And it is my pleasure to introduce my former boss of 2 weeks, Brian Regley.
It was an honor to have Jess as my employee for 2 weeks. As the first infrastructure coordinator in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, she was quickly replaced by a gentleman named Louis Crack, who sits over here. And I wanted to commend, before I make a couple of comments, Louis and the DEP team for an incredible job in pulling together this proposal. And so, quick round of applause for Louis, if we could. Just look what happened again to the first person who worked for me. So, don't what you wish for. Careful what you wish for. Exactly right. I wanted to talk a little bit more about that fair labor bonus that the Secretary discussed here a few moments ago, because it's an important part of what this application really focuses on. Ultimately, the goal is to make sure that those who apply for funding receive additional funding specifically because they do the sorts of things that we hope employers do. They look at the industrial decarbonization process, and they look at the components that are required to bring skilled labor onto these sites, to recognize the fact that we're going to need pipes to run from the new geothermal heat source to the boiler to all of the different parts of the building. I mean, you can again imagine where plumbers and steam fitters and members of the building trades are going to have to collaborate with those owners to establish a pattern forward to make sure that all these projects are built the way we are hoping they will be built. And this is, again, part of what the Shapiro administration has tried to do, besides simply leaning into individual programs like this one. So when you look at the Shapiro administration's budget requests, we received about $30 million for apprenticeship programs last year. We've asked for another $30 million for the year ahead. We're creating new career pathways that are going to help people come into these programs and into these union halls and make the transition from the job that they're in today to these highly paid jobs in the future, where they're going to be helping the energy transition happen here in Western Pennsylvania, but also throughout the United States. And ultimately, the goals that the Shapiro administration set out at the beginning are now being realized. Just in the course of the last 16 months, we have approved 28 new apprenticeship programs. There are more than 4,600 new apprentices in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Because all of these programs, be they clean energy, be they roads and bridges, be they other forms of energy infrastructure, all of them are coming together now at an opportunity, a historic opportunity for Pennsylvania to move forward. So we're really fortunate to have people like Shirley, who's running DEP. We're really fortunate to have people like Louis Crack. And we're really fortunate to have all of you here with us today, because ultimately these projects don't happen unless the companies who have the innovation come to us and project and propose these projects, if we can't create partnerships with labor to make sure that those projects get done. And fortunately, we have a whole bunch of other partners here that you need to hear about, because ultimately our ability to execute this program, should we be funded under the EPA to accomplish it, is going to depend not just on the DEP team, it's going to depend on all of the people here and all the people in this room. So within that context, I have the great pleasure of introducing Joan Kilgour, who is Kilgour, excuse me. I have to remember it is the appropriate Scottish pronunciation. Joan Kilgour, who is the head of the Ohio River Valley Institute. She's the executive director. And thank you, Joan, for all your help. All right?
Thank you so much, Dr. Regley. Thanks, everyone, for being here. And another thanks to our hosts at the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades. We're so thrilled to be here with you this morning. So today we're here, as you've heard, to highlight the impact of RISE PA, Pennsylvania's ambitious implementation application to the EPA's Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program. My name's Joan Kilgour, and I serve as Executive Director of the Ohio River Valley Institute, where our mission is to support communities in the region working to advance a more prosperous, sustainable, and equitable Appalachia. To fulfill this mission, it's critical that initiatives like the RISE PA program can become a reality. Initiatives that will drive meaningful pollution reductions while creating good jobs, a durable career pipeline for workers, and improved quality of life in our communities. In Pennsylvania, the industrial sector has been a central economic driver for more than a century, producing critical goods, including steel, cement, and glass, that helped build and grow not just the modern local economy, but the modern US economy. Today, manufacturing contributes more than $113 billion in state domestic product and provides 11% of the Commonwealth's jobs. This significant manufacturing footprint also means that industry is responsible for 1/3 of Pennsylvania's greenhouse gas emissions, and as you heard from Acting Secretary Shirley, that makes it one of the largest emitting sectors in the Commonwealth's economy. Earlier this year, we released a new report with Stratogen titled A Roadmap for Industrial Decarbonization in Pennsylvania, detailing how the state could cut CO2 equivalent emissions in the industrial sector by 84% by 2050, yielding significant benefits for local economies, public health, and the environment. Energy efficiency measures and electrification stood out as the highest impact approaches in the short term, with significant potential for job growth. Investing in near-term strategies like efficiency and electrification to decarbonize our industrial sector will help us build a better future for all Pennsylvanians. And RISE PA charts a path toward how we can achieve unprecedented emission reductions with an appropriate sense of urgency. I'm inspired by today's event because these are the exact ingredients we need to make this program as successful as we know it can be. Representatives from state and local government, labor, environmental organizations, and local communities coming together in support of a plan to maximize the historic investment the Biden administration secured through the Inflation Reduction Act, in service to addressing harmful pollution from one of the most important sectors to decarbonize. Full funding for RISE PA would give us the opportunity to make significant steps forward in decarbonizing the industrial sector in Pennsylvania while boosting good-paying union jobs and protecting our neighbors. Thank you so much for being here, and please join me in extending a warm welcome to Vanessa Lynch with Moms Clean Air Force.
All right. My name's Vanessa Lynch, and I'm a field organizer with Moms Clean Air Force. We're an organization of over 100,000 parents across Pennsylvania working to equitably protect children's health and to look at air pollution and climate change and their impacts. Pennsylvania has a long legacy of industrial pollution that significantly contributes to climate change and impacts the health of families living closest to these sources at the fence line. Moms across the Commonwealth appreciate Governor Shapiro and his administration's focus on addressing industrial sector pollution through the RISE PA program and their application for funding through the federal climate pollution reduction grants. Pennsylvania families are living with climate disruptions, from increasing extreme floods in Philadelphia and honestly in my front yard today in Southwest PA, to excessive wildfire smoke that blanketed the state last summer, to having the highest rates of Lyme disease in the country. But the impacts are not distributed evenly. Communities of color, low-income families, and children are more vulnerable to changing climate conditions and often have the least resources to protect against the impacts that disrupt people's lives. The industrial sector is not only a significant contributor to climate disruption, but also a major source of other air pollutants. In turn, this further impacts the health of already overburdened communities. Across the US, areas where the majority of residents are people of color, they experience about 40% more cancer-causing industrial air pollution in contrast with areas that are mostly white. In Pennsylvania, many of the largest industrial sites are located in areas identified by the DEP as environmental justice areas. Children in these communities are uniquely vulnerable. Climate threats and air pollution can interfere with children's lung development and increase the risk of asthma, respiratory illness, low birth weight, and premature birth. The reality is, climate change is a threat multiplier. It amplifies existing inequities of communities overburdened by air pollution. For this reason, frontline communities must be centered in all decision-making regarding industrial decarbonization projects and be given the opportunity for meaningful participation in the implementation of the state's climate pollution action plan. Moms across the state support the decarbonization of industrial facilities using methods that will not increase air pollution or put children's health and well-being at risk, especially in communities that have already suffered disproportionately from environmental burdens. Electrification of industrial facilities using renewable energy sources and energy efficiency projects will help to create the best future for Pennsylvania families. For any new technologies being considered, regulatory safeguards must be adopted to provide fence-line communities common sense protections. The community benefits bonus that this project looks at is a great first step in prioritizing families. And while the Commonwealth diligently seeks funding for its Climate Pollution Action Plan and RISE PA from the federal government and its unprecedented investments, we must not prolong the use of fossil fuels. As a mom, I want the legacy I leave behind for future generations to be filled with clean air and stable climate for all. It's time to clean up the industrial sector's pollution, and our children's future depends on it. Thank you. Up next, we have Brian Herbinko, IUPAT's DC 57 President and Director of Training. There he is.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome again to the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 57. My name is Brian Herbinko, and currently I'm blessed to be the President of this District Council and also serve as Director of Training, a role in which I have the honor of working closely with our instructors and the apprentices that come through our painting, drywall finishing, and glazing programs. Our program's goal is to take the people who come into our trades and over the course of 3 to 4 years, give them the skills they need to be at the top of their crafts. We also teach them how to be proud unionists and members of their communities. And I like to think we do a pretty good job meeting those goals. The values and economic freedom that we foster are limited only by the work opportunities available to the contractors who employ our members and share in our commitment to self-sufficient jobs with integrity. If there are no work opportunities, our apprentices and members either sit at home or start looking for different, far less lucrative employment. We have no problem providing the workers, but none of that matters if no work is available. So when DC 57 heard about the state's RISE PA grant application, we didn't hesitate to sign on and support in every way we could. The nearly $500 million application represents potentially years of work and thousands of new jobs for our members and our brothers and sisters in other building trades. These jobs, which likely would not exist without the grant funding, mean that our existing members stay busy and that we can bring in dozens of new tradespeople, some of whom may be making a family-sustaining wage for the very first time, buying a first house, or finally being able to save money for their retirement. We're particularly excited about the grant's attention to community impacts. First, the work itself, decarbonizing industrial facilities across the Commonwealth. Making these manufacturing plants and other buildings more energy efficient will make our communities healthier and cleaner without restricting our energy grid. We may not always see eye to eye with our environmentalist friends and neighbors, but this is a no-brainer collaboration that will help workers, businesses, and our environment. Second, the RISE PA application includes aggressive apprenticeship and fair labor language. Any project completed under this proposal must include prevailing rate. At least 15% of the work must be completed by apprentices. The RISE PA grant is proactive in creating a greener, more energy-efficient Commonwealth, but it's also taking care to identify the next generation of construction workers and make sure the existing workers don't get left behind. In southwestern Pennsylvania especially, that matters. As we await the next steps from the EPA, we're proud to reiterate our support for this grant, and we'd like to thank Acting Secretary Shirley, Dr. Regley, the Shapiro administration, all of our electeds in the room, building trades, labor, community groups for their partnership. Thank you for taking the time to come to our hall this morning, and it's my pleasure to introduce the wonderful Allegheny County Executive, Sarah Amado.
We're almost there, folks. Good afternoon. I'm your County Executive, Sarah Amado, and I just have to take a moment to be like, wow, we are in a building trades union hall talking about a decarbonization plan. This is incredible because this signals not that we're going to pit the environment and addressing climate change against jobs, but saying that we can address climate change, we can support communities, and we can have good paying union jobs. We can have both. This is a proposal that shows us a path forward, that we are better when we work together. So it's so incredible, and I thank the Shapiro administration for helping to lead the way, the folks at the DEP. Thank you to the Ohio River Valley Institute and the Evergreen Collective, Moms Clean Air Force, and our friends in organized labor, as well as industry leaders we have here. I also want to specifically thank the Painters and Allied Trades. You guys have been awesome partners, not only in this state proposal, but in a proposal that we have that's submitting a federal grant application for a complementary program. So thank you for your commitment and your involvement. So my guiding vision as your county executive is to create a county for all. And what that means is we're going to provide clean air and water. We're going to invest in communities that have historically been left behind, and we're going to support working families. We are working towards that vision. Together in supporting the governor's proposed RISE PA grant program. And I want to make clear that I stand in strong support of this proposal, and we will do anything we can to get it across the finish line. This is vital because here in Pennsylvania and Allegheny County, like you heard, heavy industry is the largest source of climate pollution. And I just want to root us in what that means for Allegheny County. So those who are living in the shadow of industry have long suffered a disproportionate health burden. In Allegheny County, our frontline communities are in the top 1% of cancer risk due to toxic air pollution released from stationary sources. These residents, they experience America's highest rates of asthma, COPD, and heart disease. And these are concentrated in predominantly Black and low-income communities. So if we don't act, that is what we have to live with. This proposal is our opportunity to right the wrongs from the past and invest in environmental justice communities in a meaningful way. Not only to improve public health outcomes, but to build an inclusive and green economy. This proposal, if it goes through and we can put it to work, we can create 6,000 new jobs. That's incredible. It incentivizes strong community benefit investments because this will make sure that the community is at the table as we're thinking about the future of our regions. It prioritizes union labor and apprenticeship programs because green jobs need to be accessible and union jobs. It is a win-win across the board. Clap for that. And we've seen that these investments that the Biden administration have earmarked through the IIJA and the IRA, they are creating a clean energy boom across this country, and it's time that Southwestern PA gets our fair share of these monies. As your Allegheny County executive, I will be going after every last federal dollar that is available to us. We are hiring someone in our administration whose sole job is to do this, and that's going to help clean our environment, address climate change, support communities, and create good-paying, family-sustaining jobs. And this proposal at the state is an excellent complement to the work that we are doing in my administration. Because governing is a team sport. No one can do this alone. And this proposal from the state, it supports our shared vision to make the world just a little bit better. The fact that we are standing here with organized labor and environmental groups, it means that we're all ready to move forward together to build an Allegheny County for all, a Pennsylvania for all, and a place where we can all thrive. So thank you, thank you.
I think we just wanted to see if there were any media that had any questions before we wrap. Okay, I hope everybody feels so inspired that we're all going to go hang out with Louie and learn how to use sam.gov and draw down as much federal funding as we can. Thanks for being here, and thanks for joining. And I think we have an opportunity to check out more of the hall and facility for folks interested. Thanks.